52 episodes, 52 ordinary people, 52 real stories about things that affect overall health. Because there is a lot more that goes into being healthy than food and fitness. Inspiration, support, a new perspective, and knowledge. You'll find that and more here on the Healthability Project.
Hi, and welcome to the Healthability Project. I'm Robin McKenna. In June of 2023, the American Psychological Association highlighted a review of 38 studies which found that adult friendships, especially high-quality ones that provide social support and companionship, significantly predict well-being and can protect against mental health issues such as depression and anxiety, and those benefits persist across the lifespan. Catherine Bagwell, PhD, a professor of psychology at Davidson College in North Carolina, reported that in the face of life's challenges, having a close friend to turn to seems to be a buffer or protective factor against some of the negative outcomes we might otherwise see. Here to talk with me today about the influence of friendship on health and wellness are two of my friends, Jennifer Tierney and Donna Mintz. I've known Jennifer for 49 years, almost my entire life. Donna, only 2. My point here is that we make friends all throughout our lives. Some come and go, and some stay on for the full journey. Ladies, thank you so much for being with me here today. I am so excited to have you as guests on the Healthability Project.
We're happy to be here.
So in a bit of irony, I realized just a few days ago that the very first episode of the Healthability Project was about friendship and the life-saving power of connection. And I didn't intend to bookend this show with the same subject, but I'm actually glad it worked out that way. And this podcast will offer a bit of a different perspective than the theme that came out of episode 1. I heard a quote recently that made me stop and think, and I'm still thinking about it. Friendship is the new marriage. And I think that's super appropriate for those of us who, as we age, are single. But I just thought it was really profound, actually. So I'd like to open things up by asking each of you how you define friendship.
You know, I think friendship is defined differently through the course of it. When you first meet someone, you define the friendship as somebody that you connect with and someone that you like to hang out with and maybe go to dinner with or get a couple of drinks with. And then as you get to know each other and you build on that, the definition changes and that person becomes somebody that you can rely on and that you turn to and that you look to for support and in turn want to support. So I think the definition changes through the relationship.
That's really a nice definition, Donna. I've been thinking about this too in advance of today's conversation, and I like what you say about someone that you know will support you, but that you also want to support. And I think that's so key to connection and the blossoming of friendships, as you've pointed out.
You really have to want to be there for that. You can't just every friendships are relationships, whether they're like marriage or whatever. They are a relationship. Relationships, you're allowed to get something from a relationship, and you're also supposed to give to within that relationship. It can't be all take. Nobody's going to tolerate that. You know, especially I'm almost 60 years old. I'm not going to waste my time with somebody who is just going to suck the life out of me and never support me.
Right.
I suppose, Robin, to tie into your quote that friendship is the new marriage, I mean, I've not heard that until you just said it, but it did make me kind of chuckle a little bit to myself that I'm like, if friendship is the new marriage, then you are most definitely my longest standing relationship. But it actually makes me wonder, when your friendship has been as long as ours. I mean, clearly over the course of our lives, we've been different things to each other, but still really the same thing, a best friend. We were children. Clearly, we weren't sharing life's traumas with each other when we were 6, when we were 7. We were just little girls who I think were tied by a mutual sort of happiness and desire to giggle with each other, which I can say, fortunately, we still do pretty regularly. But I'll try not to make your podcast just full of giggles. But over the course of time and all of the decades and decades and decades of time that we have shared, I would say the thing that we have the most is trust. Like, for example, if it's like a marriage, I don't ever think that my husband will leave me. I don't ever think that you will. Ever. It doesn't cross my mind that you would not be a part of my life. It's a given. It's a foundation. It's something that I think we both very much so value. And I guess sort of, to exactly what Donna said, you get out of it what you put into it. And you do have to value it, and you do have to work at it, and you have to water it.
Very good points. Very good points. And again, just the thread of connection, yes, we've known each other since we're 6, and so that's an awfully long time. And, contrary to what Donna was saying about you meet somebody, you want to go for drinks and just kind of hang out and you have fun and it goes on from there. Ours was obviously very different and really very unconsciously done for obviously quite some time. And it grows. And over the course of time, you begin to turn to each other for the good times and the bad times. And that happens even when you're someone, it's a friend you've just made in more recent history. Donna, you and I have had a lot of conversations about friendships of the past and friendships of the present, and the value that we have had in relationships that have not stayed, or why they weren't valuable and why they're no longer on the table. So again, I think it's that connection, and maybe as adults, it's a more intentional effort to connect than when you start out as kids and you just move along life together. Thoughts, comments?
I agree. There's a conscious choice that is made. I do have friends for a very long period of time, and some I'm closer to with others. Sometimes friendships can become habits, and they're just there, but they're not nurtured. And then there are the intense friendships that carry you through life, that are just we weren't going to drinks when we were 6, but we're going to drinks now. I need you. I need to talk. And that is something to be valued.
For sure. And again, the friendship, they're as they're being nurtured, you become more intimate with each other. And once that intimacy is shared and you've shown each other, your blemishes, your problems, the things about yourself that you don't like so much, it just becomes deeper, because then that friend has accepted you, warts and all.
Yeah.
No, I just saying that, I guess in my head now I'm thinking, well, why do friendships end, or why do friendships fade? And I don't think that they fade all of the time because that connection is lost. It's just sometimes life circumstances move you in a different direction.
I was just wanted to bounce off of that. When you have friends for the long haul, from when you're children, you grow. We're always growing. We're learning, we're growing, we're moving away, we're texting,
Hopefully.
we're trying to keep that connection. And sometimes when we grow into different people that just don't connect anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you sometimes have to let that go.
Yeah,
You do.
that's very true. And that to me is a healthy relationship in the sense that you know it's time to move on, or that neither of you can feed each other anymore. And rather than, for example, water a dead plant, you put it out to compost and let it grow into someone else's friendship, so to speak. So I think also too, Jen, you said something earlier about the confidence in knowing that we're never not going to be friends. And, you know, just to have that expectation, or not, maybe it's not an expectation. It supports your sense of security and sense of reliance. Donna, I know you said earlier it's someone you can rely on. And that obviously significantly influences one's health and wellness. I mean, you know, we think about, you know, I guess, you know, the knee-jerk reaction is you think of friendships when the chips are down, and that's obviously so important. And we've all had our pieces of that over time. And, you know, thank God so-and-so was on the other end of that phone when I called, or, you know, was free and could meet me for dinner or a drink. I really needed that. And then there are the good times too, where you're just hanging out at a concert or a show or a birthday party, or, you know, some random day, and it's just full of laughter, or doing some very mundane chores. And it's that sense of stability, I suppose, as well.
No doubt. You know, I know with my own children, I try to impart that life is about showing up for others, showing up for yourself. You have to show up. And a friendship is a deep, meaningful friendship. I think is also part of that, is knowing that person's always going to show up. And that's a gift.
It's the confidence and knowing that you are not alone in this world.
Very good point. I saw something recently. It's just this thing that's been going around Instagram, but I don't know if either of you have seen this. It's about 8 minutes, and that there are studies that have been done that when someone is in need or distress, however you want to term it, and they reach out to a friend, they say that within 8 minutes, no matter what it is that is bothering this person, that within 8 minutes of talking to that person that they've reached out to, that they feel better.
No, I've not heard that.
Yeah.
Now I might just have to time it.
Right. Maybe the longer the friendship, the shorter the time frame. But I thought it was interesting too, because again, it's also, you know, part of that thing that I saw was somebody had said, "Oh, I've been trying to get in touch with you," and blah blah blah, and the person says, "Well, I didn't know you needed help," and so they created this code about when you need help, say this, and it's true. It's you know, sometimes in a friendship, someone might be suffering and you might not really be aware that they're suffering, and they're not sending out the right indicators to reach for help. And thinking of that just stresses me out in that, am I not being a good enough friend by not picking up on the indicators? Or how do you feel about any of that?
You're not a mind reader. Nobody can, even your best friend can't expect you to read their mind.
For sure. And again, I'll go back to the marriage analogy. You know, you cannot in any relationship expect someone is going to read your mind and know what you need. You have to say it in any relationship. Say what you need and mean what you say.
Yeah. So, you know, that speaks to another point, that a healthy relationship requires effective communication.
Even a friendship. Absolutely.
Again, just thinking about friendship before we were doing this, about an hour ago, I thought to myself, you know, how are friendships different than family, different than a sibling relationship? Robin, you have a large family and I have a small family. And yet that difference has not altered, what we've put into our friendship over time. And I think part of it is in your friendship, what you choose is I'm outside of those family issues and family relationships. And in my friendship, whatever it is that you're facing, I'm in it for you. And whatever I've faced, you've been in it for me. And I think that's just, friendship is just such a nice balm in that sense of the things that we go through in life. Or as our other friend says, you are the family I chose.
Yeah. There's no bias. There's no familial bias when it comes down to it in certain situations, which is, in that respect, that person then is just for you, is your own Linus blanket in a way, is just for you to feel better about something. And there's something really healthy about that. And again, it goes back to the stability, the sense of confidence, and I guess knowing that your emotions will be taken care of in some way, large or small.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing that if I need you, I could pick up the phone and call you and say, listen, I got this thing and I need to talk. That is very comforting. That is very healthy. Again, going back to that's knowing I am not alone in this world. Knowing that there is a connection for me and somebody out there who cares for me, somebody I chose. They don't have to be there. They have chosen to be there. I like most of my friends. I like my friends better than most of my family.
I don't think you're alone in that, Donna.
What's that?
I don't think you're alone in that.
Exactly. It is. It goes back to your friends are the family that you have chosen.
Yeah, and again, in times of need, then that person may not be able to fix what is wrong, but for some reason, some amazing, powerful reason, you just feel better knowing you're not alone. And it just, I don't know if it maybe helps you to just kind of reprogram your thought process when you're going through something that's tough.
I don't think we reach out to our friends for them to fix it. I think that a lot of the time we just want to be heard.
Yes, that's what I mean. It's that the conversation isn't about fixing something. It's just about, I don't know, bringing someone off a ledge or just giving them a different perspective. And again, to be heard. And I think that's a very hard thing when you're an adult, to be heard when you need to be heard. Because as adults, we're just supposed to suck it up and keep going, right?
As women, we're supposed to suck it up and keep going.
That too. Forget about that sometimes.
I think we also don't want to be judged.
Yes, there's a lot of that out there. Yeah.
I know my friends don't judge me. I know my friends support me. I know my friends are going to have my back when somebody badmouths me, when I'm not in the room. I know my friends are applauding me when I'm not in the room.
That's a very good point. And that also then speaks to the definition of friend. And again, I think especially living in the city, you have the opportunity to come to know so many people. And we refer to people as friends, but is it, friend quotations? But a lot of people are really more like acquaintances. And you make a good point, Donna, that, and Jen, about the judgment piece, and that friends don't judge. You might, maybe that's where the family comes in and you call a friend up that you won't be judged. But so have either of you, can you think of an instance where a friend has failed you and how that made you feel? Because, obviously friendship cuts both ways as far as how it influences one's health and wellness.
Yeah. My backstory. I hit rock bottom. I had to pick myself back up. And there were people in my life and one friend in particular that I knew from when I was 4 years old. And she just couldn't come along with me on my journey. And I needed to be on this journey for myself, for nobody else. And if you wanted to come along with me, this is what I needed to do. And I needed to walk away. I needed to walk away from a relationship that was over 50 years old. And that was heartbreaking, but I had to do it for my own health. And that was a hard thing to do.
Just going through the process of, you're facing one hurdle and now you have this sub hurdle going on, which makes it all the much harder to get over that first hurdle. And again, that's also about just processing things, and processing things takes time, and, having the benefit of a friend to help you process things.
Exactly.
In my own life, sometimes I think when you're raising kids, you make friends as you are raising your children. And sometimes the relationships between the kids can complicate the relationships of parents. And I think that that's unfortunate, but I'd say in my own life, I think things could have been handled better had all parties been able to communicate more openly. But not everyone has the tools, the wherewithal, or maybe even potentially doesn't value the friendship enough to want to communicate on that level. And, again, I'm sure we all read those things that if you're not getting what you want out of a relationship, then it's time to look elsewhere, for a friend who will give you that. Just yesterday, I was watching, there's a guy on Instagram who gives advice to kids going off to college. And, his advice is always just, life's simple circumstances that maybe they don't have the capacity to know how to react to. But one of them is sort of, wow, what if, my really good friend, just stops sort of communicating with me? What do I do? And his advice was very clear. And he's like, well, if you value the friendship, you should just go and speak to that person and say, hey, is there something that I've done or something that I didn't do? And he said either that person will be able to communicate with you about it and you'll come to some understanding, he said, or you won't. And I think that does happen with friendships. Sometimes, you hit a hurdle that one or the other of you can't overcome at that time for whatever reason.
That's a very good point, and that maybe time is the elixir to sustain the friendship. Everybody take a step back and continue to, as they say, you do you. And at some point, the friendship road reconverges. And maybe after that, the friendship might be a little different, but it'll still be a good friendship.
For sure.
Yeah, it's hard. Navigating friendship, especially as an adult, is definitely has its challenges. And, Donna, like earlier, I'd said that you and I have only known each other for 2 years, but I'm so thankful that we connected.
We met at a time in our lives where women don't normally make new friendships.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to make friends after 50. I don't know what it is or why, but we don't normally connect. And I have been blessed with a handful of amazing women.
Yeah. And
like a marriage.
Sure. Yeah. And that's what we're looking for as we age. Right. You want to surround yourself with, what the research study said, quality relationships. And like we talked about earlier, it's not just someone you're just going to go and hang out with. It's someone who's going to be there in the dead of night if you need to make the call, or someone passes away, or you need someone to water your plants while you're traveling, right? But it is, yeah. There have been studies done that show that it is harder to make friends over 50, and I don't know why that is either. Maybe people are just so confident going around their own lives and doing their own thing that they don't stop to try and foster those. Most people, when you get to middle age, you do have friends and you have family, right? So there's always that. I don't know.
There's also a lot going on at this time in life,
Yes.
There's just, so if you have children, they're off to college or they're through college, or an empty nester, you've been possibly married to a human that you've been raising children with. but now you're an empty nester and you've both grown and you don't actually know who this person is anymore, or they don't know you anymore. You have to learn how to have that relationship all over again. And then there's the whole job. We're being downsized or we're being advanced. And there's just so much going on in life that we don't pursue new relationships because we're too busy. We got stuff going on in life.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just a different perspective, but I don't know if there's so much stuff going on. I think it's more the fear of lack of stuff, and sort of, Don, what you're saying is that if you have to try to reconnect and say like, okay, like the what now moment, like here I am, what now? Sometimes I think that what now can be a very large question mark and rather daunting. And I think as we age, we can possibly be much more guarded just due to life circumstances. And I'd also say, like, I mean, if we're honest with each other, we know that we don't have our whole life ahead. We have a great, wonderful portion of life ahead, but it doesn't seem as endless. And potentially that makes us, again, either more guarded or pickier.
Really good point.
Ladies, any words of advice to our listeners out there on friendship?
Go get yourself some if you don't have any, because we're pretty awesome.
I also think you need to really openly, willingly accept someone else's faults.
Yes, that's a very good point. You have to meet people where they are and take them for what they are, not what they're not, because that's never going to change. And just why go through that level of frustration or introduce that negativity into a friendship that could be something really amazing?
Right.
Because somebody's doing that for you.
And to that point, it's like it's a relationship. When you go into a relationship with a significant other, you can't change them. When you go into a relationship with a friend, you can't change them. You have to meet them where they are and accept that. That's really important, is that you accept them for them.
For sure.
All righty, ladies. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really great conversation. And thank you for being with me for the very final episode of the Healthability Project. All right, listeners, if you like today's episode, please like us, share us, tell your friends about us. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can reach me at thehealthabilityproject@gmail.com. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us today at the Healthability Project. We'd love to hear from you, so please email us your questions, comments, or suggestions, including future guests, to thehealthabilityproject@gmail.com. And please like us, subscribe, and share us with your friends.